If you're anything like me, there are some things that people can ask you and you will immediately know the answer. Like if I give you a choice between two things, like Chinese or Mexican, I'm going Mexican every single time. But there are some others like vanilla or chocolate, Coke, Pepsi, beach, mountains, book, movie. We've all seen these things on Facebook or Instagram where it gives you a whole list of things that are the opposites of each other. And people typically like coffee or tea. That's a good one. Coffee every single time. If you know me personally, you know this to be true. But normally, when faced with a list like this, we can go, bam, right off. I can tell you which one I would pick. But what about God in the world? And on surface level, this seems like such an easy choice to make. On the surface, it seems easy. Hello, 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 and welcome to my podcast. If you are new here, my name is Kelly. I am a mom of five, four of which still live at home. Two of those are homeschooled. I am a full-time respiratory therapist. I work two night shift jobs, one at a hospital as a respiratory therapist, the other at a sleep lab as a sleep tech. I am married to an amazing man who has made my life exponentially better, and I hold to the fact that my worst days with him far outweigh my best days without him. And I am a child of God. I love God, and that is the point of this podcast is to share Jesus with as many people as I can for as long as I possibly can so that you can experience the love, the joy, the amazingness of Jesus. So I hope that you find that here. I hope that I can help you learn something that you might not have known before, and I hope that I can learn from you. Welcome. The verses that we read in church this Sunday are 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 20 through 39. And I strongly encourage you to read that entire passage on your own or like get an app on your phone and it'll read it to you. It's about Elijah and proving that God is real and how cool that is. And just fire comes down out of heaven on a wet altar and like it's really cool. And I hold to the fact that if they made Bible stories like Marvel movies, they would be box office hits because the Bible is crazy. But what I want to focus on is choices that we make. And if you have to choose between God and the world, what does that look like for you? So the verse I want to focus on is 1 Kings chapter 18, and it is verse 21. It says, Elijah went before the people and said, how long will you waver between two opinions? The Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. It seems so cut and dry. And even as I read this, it's like I would choose God every single time. And this is going to be a short podcast because I don't really know how else to dig into this and to dive deep other than saying pay attention to the choices you make throughout your day, throughout your week, even throughout your month. Like take an audit of yourself. How do you spend your money? Are you tithing? I struggle with that. I struggle deeply with tithing, and I am strongly convicted, and I am trying so hard, and I have so many excuses, and none of them are going to hold up when I stand before the throne of God. Are you using your time appropriately? Are you spending hours on YouTube? Are you spending hours on Netflix? I'm so bad about playing games on my phone or the doom scroll on Facebook where it's an hour later and I don't even know what I've looked at. Don't even get me started on reels. Time can just go. My phone is like a time sucker. Like it just takes it away from me. And I know that. and I still pick it up and do those things. What are you doing with your resources? So, like, how are you using your home? Are you inviting people in? Are you offering meals to people who don't know Jesus, but they love you? And so they would come into your home and they would have a meal with you, and you're forming those relationships so that you can talk about Jesus? Are you using, I don't know, your car to help transport people, your clothes that you're not wearing anymore, giving them to the homeless or the people in need? We have tons of resources. I know I have a garage packed full of stuff that I haven't looked in the boxes in 4 years since I moved into this house. That's really shameful. And we all have our time, our treasures, and our talents that we have to offer to people, and we just don't necessarily use them appropriately. Now, if you are, I commend you. Please leave a comment below and tell me how you're doing it, because I struggle with my everyday life trying to make the best and then failing constantly. And all of that stuff, when I choose to be on my phone instead of in the Word, I'm putting the world before God. When I choose to watch Netflix instead of telling people about God, that's putting the world before God. It's one thing to be in your Bible and to be in prayer, and all of that is so vital. But if we're not talking to others about Jesus, we're missing one of the biggest things that Jesus told us to do. He said, go and make disciples. And that doesn't mean that you have to go to a third world country or an unreached people population. You can literally have a conversation with your neighbor. You can have your kids' friends over and just have conversations. It doesn't have to be awkward. You don't have to sit down and have the Jesus talk, but you can have conversations with people. And all of that is putting God before the world. What does your language look like? I don't know how many people know this about me, but I have a little bit of a temper. My husband calls it, he says I'm passionate. And that's just his sweet self putting a soft touch on how fiery I can get. And in those moments, like, I have to check myself. And even to the point where my husband will look at me and say, is what you're doing right now glorifying God? Or when I want to do something, he'll look at me and say, but how is that going to glorify God? And it's just a life check. And I'm so thankful for him and that he does that. So I'm going to wrap this up and just challenge you this week to pay attention to your choices. Just take a mental note, or if you need to jot it down like I do, just pay attention to the choices that you're making. And is it more worldly or is it more godly? As always, I am not a preacher. I don't have any degrees in theology or seminary or anything like that. I just love God. I love Jesus, and I want to tell as many people about the gospel as I possibly can for as long as I possibly can. So that's the point of this. If you want to hear the full sermon of this passage, you can go to wearetogether.church. I will have it linked in the description box below, and you can hear the full sermon. You can also find them on Facebook and YouTube. And I never want anyone to feel like they are walking alone in this world. So if you have any prayer requests, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. There's also going to be a link in the description box for prayer requests. So if you have something that you want to keep a little more private, you can click on that link and it will send me a private message. If you are looking for a Bible reading plan or you need a Bible, comment below and I will give you my suggestions and help you figure out how to get a Bible of your own. So again, thank you for being here. I hope you got something out of it, and I just challenge you this week to pay attention to the decisions you're making, and in everything that you do, try and glorify God.